talk about the current international events happening around the world. Before going ahead, I would welcome you all to the virtual school. A new way of learning and teaching, with the vision of let's grow together. Our mission is to learn how to learn and teach how to teach. First, I would like to talk about a news from President of USA Mr. Biden. US will send India vaccines, reiterates Biden. He says US is dispatching a whole series of help to India, including remdesivir and vaccine inputs. Help on its way. President Joe Biden at the White House in Washington, in this file photo.ap Evan Vucci. US President Joe Biden on Tuesday elaborated on his phone conversation with Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Monday to discuss the COVID-19 outbreak in India. He said the US was sending a whole series of help to India, including remdesivir and vaccine inputs. With regard to India, I spoke at length with Modi, the Prime Minister. We are sending immediately a whole series of help that he needs, including providing for those remdesivir and other drugs that are able to deal with this and prevent, in some cases, but help recovery, said Mr. Biden. He was walking away from the lectern at the end of his remarks on COVID-19 on the north lawn of the White House, but returned briefly specifically to answer questions on India. Secondly, we are sending the actual mechanical parts that are needed for the machinery they have to build a vaccine. And that's being done as well, Mr. Biden said, adding he told Mr. Modi that the US would be able to send actual vials of vaccine to India. I've discussed with him, Mr. Modi, when we'll be able to send actual vaccines to India, which would be my intention to do. The problem is, right now, we have to make sure we have other vaccines, like Novavax, and others, coming on, probably. And I think we'll be in a position to be able to share vaccines, as well as know-how, with other countries who are in real need. That's the hope and expectation, he said. The White House announced on Monday that it was making available some 60 million doses of AstraZeneca vaccine for use by other countries over the course of May and June. India helped us. And I might add, when we were in a bind at the very beginning, India helped us, Mr. Biden said as he was leaving the venue. Co-chairs of the Senate India Caucus, Mark Warner, Democrat, Virginia, and John Cornyn, Republican, Texas, wrote to President Biden, urging him to accelerate U.S. efforts to support countries like India that had been hard hit by COVID-19. As co-chairs of the Senate India Caucus, we are watching with growing alarm the unprecedented surge of COVID-19 cases, hospitalizations, and deaths, which has overwhelmed hospitals and the overall health system in India, the senators wrote. Finally, we congratulate you for taking specific actions to remove obstacles that would get in the way of sending excess vaccines to India, they said, asking that similar barriers be removed for sharing vaccines with other countries as well. Thank you. Now I'll focus on a news from Minister Piyush Goyal. India, Australia, Japan push for supply chain resilience. The move is seen aimed at reducing their reliance on China. The Supply Chain Resilience Initiative, SCRI, formally launched on Tuesday by the trade ministers of India, Japan, and Australia, brought a wary response from China, which has described the effort as unrealistic. Piyush Goyal, Minister for Commerce and Industry, launched the SCRI along with Dan Tehan, Australia's Minister for Trade, Tourism, and Investment, and Hiroshi Kajiyama, Japan's Minister for Economy, Trade, and Industry. The three sides agreed the pandemic revealed supply chain vulnerabilities globally and in the region, and noted the importance of risk management and continuity plans in order to avoid supply chain disruptions. Some of the joint measures they are considering include supporting the enhanced utilization of digital technology and trade and investment diversification, which is seen as being aimed at reducing their reliance on China. The SCRI aims to create a virtuous cycle of enhancing supply chain resilience with a view to eventually attaining strong, sustainable, balanced and inclusive growth in the region, a statement said. China wary. China's foreign ministry on Wednesday described the move as unrealistic. The formation and development of global industrial and supply chains are determined by market forces and companies' choices, spokesperson Zhao Jian said. Artificial industrial transfer is an unrealistic approach that goes against the economic laws and can neither solve domestic problems nor do anything good to the stability of the global industrial and supply chains, or to the stable recovery of the world economy. Mr. Zhao said China hoped that amid the epidemic, parties concerned will cherish the hard-won outcomes of international cooperation in the fight against the epidemic, and act in ways conducive to enhancing mutual trust and cooperation, so as to jointly ensure the global industrial and supply chains stable and unimpeded. Thank you. Now we will move on the next news from Yangon, Myanmar. Junta launches air raids on rebel areas. Myanmar government forces launched airstrikes against ethnic minority guerrillas in 2 areas of the country on Wednesday, local reports said. Fighting has been raging in northern Myanmar in territory controlled by the Kachin Independence Organization, representing the Kachin minority, and in the east by the Karen National Union, representing the Karen. Both groups oppose the military. Thank you. Now here is news from Europe. EU lawmakers give nod to post-Brexit trade agreement sore points like an Ireland protocol, vaccine supplies remain. Associated Press Brussels. European Union leaders, their British counterparts and European businesses expressed hope on Wednesday that the final ratification of the post-Brexit trade deal will open a new, positive era of cooperation despite the many divisive topics remaining between the former partners. Lawmakers at the European Parliament voted 660 to 5 with 32 abstentions to endorse the free trade agreement. Voting took place on Tuesday but results were not announced until Wednesday morning. After EU lawmakers ratified the agreement ensuring that free trade continues between the two sides without tariffs and quotas, UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson said the vote marked the final step in a long journey, providing stability to our new relationship with the EU as vital partners, close allies, and sovereign equals. Relations between the EU and the UK have been strained since a Brexit transition period ended on January 1. The two sides have argued so far this year over issues ranging from violations of the so-called Northern Ireland Protocol, COVID-19 vaccine supplies to the full diplomatic recognition of the EU in Britain. Thank you. News from Netherlands. An Ireland leader quits after revolt. Associated Press London. Northern Ireland's First Minister Arlene Foster announced her resignation on Wednesday after members of her Democratic Unionist Party signed a letter of no confidence in her over her handling of the fallout from Brexit. Post-Brexit trade rules have imposed customs and border checks on some goods moving between Northern Ireland and the rest of the UK, which has angered the Unionists. Russia expels 7 EU envoys. Agence France Presse Moscow. Moscow on Wednesday expelled 7 European diplomats after their countries ordered Russian diplomats to leave in solidarity with the Czech Republic, which is engulfed in a row with Russia. The Czech government this month accused Russian security services of being behind a deadly explosion at an arms depot in eastern Czech Republic in 2014. It expelled a number of Russian diplomats over the allegations, with Slovakia and the Baltic states of Estonia, Latvia and Lithuania following suit in solidarity. Russia's foreign ministry on Wednesday said that a total of 4 diplomats from Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania have been declared persona non grata and must leave the country within 7 days. It added that the Baltic states continue to conduct hostile course towards our country, in this case hiding behind pseudo-solidarity with the indiscriminate actions of the Czech Republic towards Russia. In a separate statement on Wednesday, the ministry also announced the expulsion of 3 Slovak diplomats. China pushes defense ties with Bangladesh. Sri Lanka Defense Minister Wei Fenghe urges the nations to resist powers outside the region setting up alliances. Thank you. News from Sri Lanka. Expanding ties. Sri Lankan PM Mahinda Rajapaksa, right, and China's Defense Minister Wei Fenghe in Colombo on Wednesday. A Paranga Jayawardena. Mira Srinivasan Ananth Krishnan Colombo. China's Minister of Defense Wei Fenghe, visiting Bangladesh and Sri Lanka this week, has called on countries in the neighborhood to resist powers from outside the region setting up military alliances in South Asia. General Wei's comments in Dhaka on Tuesday came amid a pushback from Chinese officials on the India-US Australia-Japan Quad grouping, which some in Beijing have described as a quasi-military alliance. Colombo visit. The Chinese Defense Minister and People's Liberation Army General on Wednesday held talks with President Gotabaya Rajapaksa in Sri Lanka, as he began a 2-day visit following his trip to Bangladesh. Both sides had discussions that were extremely fruitful, said a statement issued by the Presidential Media Division. The Chinese Defense Minister also said the relations between the two nations were further strengthened by this visit, the statement said. The general's visit comes 6 months after top Chinese foreign policy official Yang Jiechi was in Colombo in October 2020 for high-level discussions. China on Tuesday also convened a 6-country South Asia dialogue on COVID-19 and economic cooperation with the foreign ministers of Afghanistan, Bangladesh, Nepal, Pakistan, and Sri Lanka. The senior Chinese official's visit to Sri Lanka coincides with mounting resistance in Sri Lanka to a bill envisioning laws to govern the China-backed $1.4 billion Colombo port city. The Supreme Court recently heard a case on the matter, following some 20 petitions by opposition parties and civil society organizations that challenged the bill arguing that it threatened Sri Lanka's sovereignty. The top court is expected to rule on the case soon. The visiting Chinese official is also scheduled to meet PM Mahinda Rajapaksa. Beijing has extended over $2 billion in loans in a currency swap facility to Colombo after the pandemic struck, to help the government cope with its economic strain. Prior to that, Colombo owed Beijing over $5 billion in loan repayment. On Tuesday, General Wei held talks with Bangladesh President Abdul Hamid in Dhaka. A statement from China's official Xinhua news agency quoted him as calling for the two militaries to increase high-level visits, deepen cooperation in equipment technology, broaden exchanges in specialized fields and forge closer military relations. To jointly maintain regional peace and stability, he said, the two sides should make joint efforts against powers outside the region, setting up military alliance in South Asia and practicing hegemonism. Apollo 11 astronaut Michael Collins is dead. Apollo 11 astronaut Michael Collins, who piloted the ship from which Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin left to make their historic first steps on the moon in 1969, died on Wednesday of cancer, his family said. He was 90. Though he traveled some 238,000 miles to the moon and came within 69 miles, Mr. Collins never set foot on the lunar surface. AP. Gotabaya, Sola express solidarity with India. They share concerns over virus surge. Ibrahim Mohammed Sola. Mira Srinivasan Colombo. Expressing deep concern over the rapid surge in COVID-19 in India, Sri Lankan President Gotabaya Rajapaksa on Wednesday wrote to Prime Minister Narendra Modi, informing him of special prayers that the country's Buddhist clergy would hold for the people of India. Recalling similar pestilences faced by humankind in the past, Mr. Rajapaksa sought to assure the Indian PM that humanity prevailed through perseverance, and that India would thwart the current havoc of the pathogen, under Mr. Modi's able leadership and the resolute support of dedicated professionals and experts. I am pleased to inform Your Excellency that the Buddhist clergy in Sri Lanka, following the example of their great teacher Gautama Buddha and Vaisala during a pestilence, plan to compassionately recite the Pratthana Sutra, to invoke blessings on the people of India, thus demonstrating the close bond and affinity between our two countries, Mr. Rajapaksa said in a letter dated April 28, 2021. President Rajapaksa expressed deep gratitude for India's donation of 5 lakh doses of vaccines that, he said, enabled his government to launch the vaccination program. Maldivian President Ibrahim Mohammed Sola too expressed solidarity with India in a tweet that said, saddened and concerned for our neighbor India as they battle a new wave of COVID-19. The Maldives expresses its solidarity with the people of India and is encouraged by the efforts undertaken by PM Narendra Modi and Indian authorities to ease the situation. Thank you. Thank you so much for watching this video. Do like, share and comment. Press the subscribe button and hit the bell icon to get new notifications. Thank you. Take care and stay safe. God bless you all.